Is softening media so much really good for kids? Over the years, media that kids watch has significantly changed. Heck, the media everyone watches has changed a lot. Back in the day, there wasn't a lot of difference between what children watched and what their parents watched. The whole family would gather around the TV or go to the movies together to enjoy whatever was on. Whether it was a family sitcom like The Addams Family, a biblical epic like Ten Commandments, shows like Bonanza or Tales of the Texas Rangers, The Adventures of Bugs Bunny or Felix the Cat. Shows that had violence, sure, but it wasn't gory, and there wasn't a lot of gratuitous sexuality or anything like that. Not every show was Leave It to Beaver, obviously, but they also weren't explicit if they were being shown on general TV. Because the parents were there with their kids, if there were heavier topics or themes in the show that the kids might have questions about, they could discuss it together. Or if there was something scary, the parents could comfort their kids and reassure them that it'd be okay. TV time was family time. Now, TV is distinctly separated by age groups, not just by genre. There are shows for adults, but also shows aimed at teens, shows aimed at preteens, shows aimed at kids, and shows aimed at toddlers and younger. While some of the shows meant for older kids can be a little daring with what they show sometimes in terms of violence and themes, like Gravity Falls, when it comes to stuff for younger audiences, it's all sanitized to the point of basically being nothing but jingling keys in their face to shut them up for an hour. Even A Troll in Central Park wasn't as bad as most of these shows, and that is saying something. A big part of why there was a change is because families no longer watch things together. They no longer need to compromise on what they watch and make sure there's nothing in it that is too much, but it also needs to be entertaining enough to keep the older audience members interested. A mystery, humor, something that's, you know, genuinely good. It took a lot of effort to make shows that had wide audience appeal. Now, they don't have to do that and can appeal to the lowest common denominator of their chosen audience. They can make shows that are nothing but fart jokes because the parents can roll their eyes and let their kids watch it while they watch something else, instead of the parents having to sit through it and maybe deciding that they want to watch something a little less brain dead and put on Crocodile Hunter or something. Cartoons for little kids no longer try to be entertaining and educational. Because why would they? Kids that young will watch anything as long as it's colorful and noisy, and their parents aren't watching it with them, so they don't notice or care. Quality in entertainment overall has dropped drastically, but children's media suffers the most for it. And when it's pointed out, the resounding response from most people tends to be, "It's just a cartoon, it's for kids, of course it's stupid." But it's really a lot more than that, and don't they deserve better? The days when kids spent most of their time out playing with friends, going to libraries, throwing rocks in a creek, or rolling down grassy hills and coming home covered in dirt are long gone for most. Now, kids spend almost all their time indoors, on a tablet or computer, watching whatever shows are streaming or on YouTube, and playing games that aren't in any way educational or developmentally useful. They don't get the physical or mental benefits of interacting with the outside world. So, their world doesn't consist so much of the world itself, it consists of whatever is inside their screen. If what's inside that screen is garbage, well, there's a coding phrase that says garbage in, garbage out. If all they're consuming is garbage, don't be surprised when the kids start acting the same way. Most children's shows that are produced by larger companies like Disney tend to be incredibly softened. The villains aren't scary, the stakes are never high, and all the characters, even the ones that are supposed to be bad, are soft and round and have no sharp edges whatsoever. Maleficent, they ain't. There's nothing challenging in the stories, nothing that would encourage them to ask questions or think. It's just noise to keep them from bothering their parents. Kids need to be challenged. They need to see things that are uncomfortable or scary to them and see that those things can be worked through or overcome. They need to be given the opportunities to grow and learn in a safe environment. The brain is developing so much at those early stages. That is when it's most crucial to introduce them to concepts that will follow them throughout their life. Like that something may be scary, but they can pull through it. That there will be obstacles in life, but they can be overcome or worked around. That sometimes we don't get what we want or what we think we want, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to change gears in our life. Sometimes big changes happen and we can't do anything about it. Sometimes the world isn't accepting. Sometimes the people won't think that your idea is the greatest thing ever. Sometimes people will have different ideas than you, and that doesn't make them wrong or a bad person. You don't have to agree on everything, but some things are important to agree on if you want any kind of relationship with that person. Sometimes things don't work out, and it feels awful at the time, but you get up, dust yourself off, and either try again or move in a different direction. A good movie or cartoon can also teach empathy through those darker moments, like when Littlefoot's mother died protecting him, and we can see how it affects him and the words of comfort given to him by a stranger. Dark moments are incredibly important to helping children learn difficult emotions and how to process them. If kids don't learn these things at a young age, even if shows for older audiences include some obstacles and challenges and darker moments, it doesn't stick the same way it does when they're at an earlier stage of development. Ever heard about how people who let their kids watch Caillou regretted it because their kids learned to be total brats from it, and even when they were older and not allowed to watch the show anymore, they still acted that way sometimes? That's because it hit at a crucial point of development, and the lesson they absorbed was being a brat gets you what you want. Those lessons, once instilled in the absorbent little sponges that are their brains at that age, are very difficult to get rid of, like an entrenched computer virus. Especially for parents who still continue to let their kids mostly be raised by their tablets and don't sit down and watch things with them and talk about it, or read to them, or do things with them to make sure that they're learning what they need to learn. Kids need movies like Secret of NIMH and Land Before Time. Kids need to see evil people do terrible things and be overcome and punished like Maleficent or Shan Yu. Kids need to learn how to be kind, even in the face of adversity. That they can and should work to improve themselves and become better, more capable people, instead of being told they're perfect the way they are and don't need to try. More than anything else, they need someone to be there with them to guide them through the hardest parts, the parts that so many people think they can't handle, and talk to them afterwards and help them process the important lessons. They need their parents. I know that can be incredibly difficult in today's world, but if you make the choice to have a child and to raise them yourself, you have chosen that responsibility. It doesn't go away just because it's hard. I've seen so many kids that I know would absolutely thrive if their parents just spent time with them and paid attention to them, but those kids slip through the cracks because their parents say they don't have time, they're too tired, they're busy with something else, whatever reasoning they have. They had a choice. The kids don't. It's really important to remember that. I fully agree with animation legend Don Bluth's idea that kids can handle anything as long as you give them a happy ending. More than that, I think that if they have a parent sitting beside them who can hug them during the scary parts and help talk them through bits they don't understand, they can handle much deeper lessons and morals than people seem to think they can. Kids aren't stupid. They just haven't been taught yet. Kids need to be challenged to grow, to encounter situations that are uncomfortable and learn how to get through them. When kids don't learn how to deal with feeling nervous or uncomfortable, well, that's when you wind up with generations of young adults who can't do anything for themselves and refuse to try anything new because it's outside their comfort zone. And they just wind up stagnating and never doing anything because it's too uncomfortable to try. Thank you all for joining me. I know that a lot of people don't like hearing about parenting being, you know, up to them and a choice they made, but I've never believed in sugarcoating the facts. If you try to dilute the facts enough to make them palatable for everyone, well, you've just lost everything of substance, including the point. People who don't want to hear it are usually the ones who need to hear it the most, and I'm not particularly bothered if people get upset at me for it. Be safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next one.